Hi everyone, it's Az here from HeelvsBabyface. Yes, they seem to be very, I don't quite know what the word is, insecure? I think that's probably the best way to describe it. I mean, after all, they're numero uno in the charts, even if in week 2 the physical sales in the UK dropped off by 80%, which I think is actually the biggest drop-off from week 1 to week 2 sales of any AAA title. But people are sure to go through others to find out. Now, this article goes through that, and the reason why the UK charts is used as a reference source is it normally sets the trend for what's going on. It's a good indication of what is going to happen worldwide. It's not like a completely anomalous place. So what happens in the UK is likely to happen-ish around other places. So this article goes into the fact that, yeah, games have had big drop-offs. Uncharted 4 saw a 78% drop-off in its first to second week. Uncharted 4, that's another Naughty Dog game. One thing about Uncharted 4, though, it didn't come out to the acclaim of the other games at all. In actual fact, quite a few people had some issues with this fourth in the series as compared to the first 3. Would that affect the sales? Who knows? Maybe, possibly. But yes, it was, at that time, the biggest first-party selling title on the PlayStation 4, which The Last of Us Part 2 beat. But when you look at other successful AAA games, you'll notice that 80% and 78% from Naughty Dog games is actually very high compared to the others. For instance, Spider-Man, which was very well received by people as a fun game with a great little story. I've got it, I've yet to play it, but I do have it. Dropped only 42% from the first to the second week. God of War, which was just magnificent. I love that game. I couldn't put it down until I completed it. I nearly completely completed it. Not quite. But it was just, 35% from week 1 to week 2. And Days Gone, which is actually here. Let me just grab this. Whoosh! And this isn't even a AAA game. Dropped 60%. Now, what was interesting with Days Gone was critically, it was received meh. Kind of meh. Whereas the audience thought it was a very good game. So that we had a discrepancy there. So the mainstream media influence maybe had some effect on that sales, but 60%, 80%, there's a big difference between those two percentages. So regardless of what you want to say, it's had a huge drop-off from week 1 to week 2. And there is multiple reasons which we could go into to figure out why. Let's go to YouTuber Ryan Cannell, as he found himself having a little bit of a scrap with an IGN janitor. That's probably all they're good for. Where, first of all, he references his own tweet. This is Zachary Ryan at IGN. Dear Get Woke, Go Broke crowd. The Last of Us Part 2 sold 4 million copies in its first week. That's more than God of War, Spider-Man's, Super Mario Odyssey, Uncharted 4, Gears of War 5, Breath of the Wild, The Last of Us. Please feel free to shut the fuck up forever. Yes, that came from a journalist at IGN. By the way, you do realise that when you put out tweets like this, you're putting it out to your potential audience, dipshit. Because even though IGN and companies like that absolutely bend over backwards and take it, for companies like Activision, EA, Naughty Dog, and all of that, their audience is actually the customers of the games. And they don't seem to realise that. And that's why their audience going to their site is shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. Because you get shrieking little harlots like Zachary here saying shit like that. And where do those people go? To people like Ryan Cannell, to people like myself, to people like whoever it is, whether it be Yellow Flash, Just Some Guy, Nerdrotic, Doomcock, whoever. They go to those sources because they want somebody who they believe is going to tell them how it is. That's what they want. They then decide to double down, obviously, with last thing I'll say about Last of Us Part 2. I think it's pretty fucking interesting that certain YouTuber dudes that have profited from slamming this game into the ground for months do not have the guts to report on sales after encouraging their fans to review bomb and talk shit all year. Well, first and foremost, I don't know anyone that didn't report on the figures. I reported on the UK sales figures. I know that Ryan reported on the sales figures, and other people have been discussing The Last of Us Part 2. All reported on the sales figures. Second one, profited from slamming. Bearing in mind, Ryan, myself, Just Some Guy, many others, we nearly lost our channels due to fake copyright DMCs, you little bitch. Because of Sony, where they illegally pulled videos where we were just discussing the leaks. Something that was absolutely well within our rights to do so within the law. So while we're profiteering from them, you're goddamn right. Monetize idiots. And Sony and Naughty Dog and Musso acted like idiots. And they got milked. Thank you very much indeed. You put the Streisand effect on us and yourself, and all you did was drive traffic to our channels. Thank you very much indeed. I have not seen a single person in any of their videos encourage fans to review bomb and talk shit all year. The Last of Us Part 2. I can recall myself saying, I think the reason why games like this get review bombed is because of trash sites like IGN, which is bought and paid for, maybe not cash dollar, but they play the game, as we've seen. Because they're trash sites, they feel that the only way that they can make their voice heard is by review bombing. Is by saying, hey, games developer, this is not the type of game that we want. This is not the type of direction that we want. Because people like you are doing 10 out of 10 masterpiece! Like a good little bunny. So, Ryan responded to it. And we got this. He then says, oh, what DMCA takedowns? He plays dumb that he doesn't know about the DMCA takedowns. And then, guess what? Backtracks. Plays dumb. Remember, IGN, nobody, no mainstream media reported on the false DMCA takedowns. Coinkydink. This is my mistake, and I'll take the L here. You will, you little bitch. I had heard about those claims, but hadn't looked into it. I heard about it, but I didn't do my job. I didn't do my job. I heard that Sony were illegally DMCA down channels and videos, but I didn't do my job. I didn't look into it. Oopsies. But I respectfully disagree with the last bit. No one gives a fuck what you think, bitch. So let's move on to this one, shall we? And this is a very interesting thing, because we got a Vibe reviewer here called Rob Zachney. And this is an article from Polygon. The article itself is pretty damn salty, but when you get past the sodium, you actually get to some very interesting aspects. Where we get to this part. While the vast majority of reviewers have lavished The Last of Us Part 2 with all sorts of praise, a handful of outlets, Polygon included, have been slightly more critical of the blockbuster game. According to Zachney, Rob Zachney at Vice, Vice's review prompted a Sony representative to reach out on behalf of Naughty Dog. Oh, I'm sorry? I'm sorry. Somebody put a review out for your game from Vice, and a representative from Sony for Naughty Dog wanted to speak to your manager. Fucking Karen! Karen from Sony wanted to speak to Vice's manager about their Last of Us Part 2 review, please. Holy shit. They felt some of the conclusions I reached in my review were unfair and dismissed some meaningful changes or improvements, Zachney told Polygon over Twitter messages. Zachney clarified that the exchange wasn't confrontational, but that it was nonetheless unusual. You're goddamn right it was unusual. It's intimidation. It's intimidation. You put your review out, that's what you had to say. But then they came out and said, we don't think your review's fair. Who gives a fuck what you think? This is their opinion. This is their opinion. And they're entitled to it. So this is intimidation. This is Sony and Naughty Dog making Vice very aware that they know that their reporter, their reviewer, has been unfavourable to them. Let's just hope he's not unfavourable again if you want our relationship to continue. That's what this is. And I'm playing The Last of Us Part 2 right now because tomorrow night Critical Drinker has invited me on to discuss it, and he wanted me to go through the game. He wanted me to experience the game as opposed to just knowing the story. And I can appreciate it, I understand that. And I'm 13 hours into the game, and I couldn't be any more fucking bored if I tried. I really can't. I don't care about the characters. The characters are written dreadfully. Dreadfully. The story's dreadful. The environments are beautiful. The gameplay is fine. But the characters and the story are terrible. I can't relate to anyone. I don't care about anyone. It's just a menagerie of violence. So everything's just merged into one. So I can't empathize or sympathize with anybody. And the only time in this whole playthrough that I've enjoyed so far is a certain flashback sequence with Ellie and Joel to when he took her to a dinosaur museum for her birthday. Because do you know what? It felt like the characters. It felt like they were actually the characters that we'd loved and grown with over 7 odd years. The ones in the game, from Joel through to Ellie, I don't know who these people are. They sure as hell don't act like them. So I think anyone that just gives this glowing review to this game, I don't see why you're entitled to your own opinion. I don't see how the fuck you could have even dared to got to that at all. The manipulations which Druckmann try and put in are stupid and superficial. You just killed Adam. Adam's been killed. I don't give a fuck. I'll kill Adam, Sue, Mary, David, Richard, Beth. I don't give a fuck. If a dog comes running towards me, it's getting a blade in the fucking face. I don't give a shit about your pooch. And I don't give a toss about your flashback when you're playing ball. It's just another pixel to receive my pixel to its face. In an effort to get from one side of a zone to another. Superficial. Oh, so some really interesting stuff. Best game ever. But the people who seem to be the more insecure about it all are Naughty Dog and Sony. Go figure. Hope you enjoyed the vid. If you did, do give it a thumbs up and also subscribe to the channel. Follow me on social media and YouTube for live streaming. Links are in the description box down below. And I'll be back with some more stuff very soon. You take care. Bye for now.